Hi everybody, it's Charlie. I hope you're all doing well today. I wanted to share with you guys. I got a little plant. We were at Home Depot today, and I found this little plant, and it's braided. It's braided, so I had to get it. It's also very cheap. So yay. But anyways, so I wanted to make a video about how our system functions kind of on a day-to-day basis. Really quick before we start, I have to say really fast, we've had some bills come in that were way bigger than we expected. We cannot cover them. We have some emergency discount commissions that are open. It would mean the world to us if you would check them out. We have on our YouTube community tab stuff posted about it, also on our TikTok. You can email us if you're interested for like a sketchy portrait commission or a little Twitch emote like pixel art commission type thing. That are highly discounted from our usual prices, or if you want to just go check us out on Fiverr and support us in our normal commission ways, or just like join our Patreon or something, and that support would mean the world. Or you can just use the like super thanks or whatever below. Anyways, self-promoting over. Let's get into the video, how our system tends to function on a day-to-day basis. So, generally daily, I almost always am the one to wake up. Now this, I don't think was always the case. And this was the case like when Alex was the host. Alex was always the one to wake up. This mostly kind of became something that I believe was sort of a safety measure that was set for us by sort of who would be the most like gatekeepery in our system. We don't use system roles, but who would fit that the most in our system when we started living with our partner. Because if you're sleeping in the same bed with someone and wake up next to them, especially if you're not like fully clothed or whatever, you don't want a little waking up, and like that could be really traumatizing or really triggering. So it's just kind of like somehow, I don't know how it actually works for us, but it has worked so far that almost without fail, our host is the one to wake up. So that's nice. So I'm pretty much always the one to wake up for the day. Our day-to-day kind of system functionings differ a lot on whether or not we have a migraine or a really high pain day. I am our host because I'm our pain manager and we have chronic pain. Whoever is our pain manager is our host because we are in pain so often that the pain manager is front so often, they're the host. So if we are on a high pain day, generally it'll only be me, or it'll only be me. Oftentimes on a really high pain day, we'll have high pain from either when we wake up or like an hour or two after we wake up until like between 9 and 11 p.m. and then it'll start fading right at the end of the day. And then sometimes people will switch in. But it will look a little different if it's not so high of a pain day. So I'm going to talk about not too high of pain days. So generally in that case, and of course this is not every day and every day is different, but this is just kind of the general pattern that we've noticed is the most common, is that I usually wake up, someone will oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes switch in kind of in like late morning, early afternoon-ish. And oftentimes it in the past would be Jaden or Blue, and now I believe oftentimes it's Sam, but lately they've been masking Sam since Jaden and Blue fused. Sam has had a really hard time unmasking and like being open about it being them. So a lot of the time when Sam's fronting recently, they've said that it's me. So it's a little harder to track and to figure out because we can't like talk to Keller and have him be like, oh yeah, Jaden was fronting earlier today. Or, oh yeah, Sam was fronting earlier today, because Sam would have told him it was me. Anyways, but that is what we've kind of discovered, is that it seems like Sam's been fronting a good amount lately in the kind of late morning, early afternoon for just like a little chunk of time. And that's not every day. That's just like, it's regular enough that we've noticed that it's a pattern. And then usually from afternoon to early evening, oftentimes that's me. Oftentimes that's like when I'm working on commissions, when I'm doing all that, trying to like be productive, dealing with Cora, all of that. And then evening is often when pain is going down to the lowest of the day. And a lot of the times that will be when our littles switch in. Oftentimes that will be when Puffin and Raven come out. And they don't usually come out for very long, but when they do come out, it's usually at night. And I'm not saying like every day I wake up, Sam switches in, I switch back in, and then Puffin switches in, and then maybe I switch back in and go to bed. That's not what I'm saying. Most days it's just me, or maybe we have one switch. But these are just common times or common like patterns that we find that maybe like twice a week Puffin will switch in, and it happens to usually be in the evenings. So that's what I'm talking about. So that's kind of the daily course of the day stuff that we've noticed. And that's kind of what we're at right now with our system, and right now with like who's active at this point in time. Now, common switch patterns we found kind of overarching in our life and with a little bit more specificity and not with like time of day. I'm not going to get into anything that has to do with any of our triggers. So just a heads up, none of these are going to have anything to do with triggers of ours. We will never share who switches in due to what triggers. That is not something that we think that any system should share publicly ever. Maybe with like the closest trusted people, if that feels like a necessity for safety, but never share that publicly. People will use that against you. Do not share that publicly. So I'm only sharing with you patterns that we've discovered that do not seem to be related to at least like intense trauma triggers. They might be, of course, related to trauma and triggers because that's often what switches come from, but they're at least things that we've healed enough from now or are not so intense that they send us into spirals, and like these are things that we can share with safety. And also just simple things like in warmer weather, we have less pain. In warmer weather, we have less migraines. Because of that, I'm not front stuck as much because I'm our pain manager. I don't need to be front as much. So we have more switches when it's warmer, usually. In the summer, if we travel somewhere warm, especially if we go to somewhere that's like from somewhere that's cold to somewhere that's warm and have that like sudden shift, we will often have many more switches when we're in that warm place because it's like a sudden relief that I can let go of the front and like get some chill time and not have to be in such pain all the time. So that's something that we've discovered. Specifically, when it's warmer, Jo tends to front a lot more, like to the point where she will often sort of be like a co-host when we are in the summer season. So also, like, little patterns we found. So in the past, Jaden would often switch in after our littles because oftentimes when our littles would switch out, it would either be they were having a breakdown or they were really energized. Either way, it was a very heightened thing. And Jaden would often switch in because he was the neutralizer. Now, Jaden and Blue have fused. We do anticipate, and Sam seems to be kind of playing a similar role, but Sam's so new. And so we don't really know if Sam is going to continue that. We kind of anticipate Sam to continue that on and hope that Sam will, but we don't know for sure. So we think that Sam will continue to usually kind of be the one to switch in after our littles most of the time, but we don't know for sure. We found that Cassie switches in a lot or just comes co-con and then often takes over when we stream. I don't know why. I think that she's just very social and enjoys talking to people. But that's something that's been kind of new. Cassie being aware of herself as her own individual is something that's been kind of new. New as in like the last 6 months to a year. But she, I'm losing my words right now. We started a new med today, by the way, so fun stuff. But yeah, we have discovered that Cassie switches in fairly often while we're streaming. Or just if we're generally like with friends. We just are streaming much more often than we're with friends. And then so pretty often, so Ray switches in pretty often when we're in the shower, and Nadia switches in pretty often when we're in the bath. Except that often when we're in the bath, it's me, because I'm in there to deal with pain. So the very few times that we take a bath and we're not in like severe crippling pain, then Nadia will often switch in, and for the shower, Ray. And then we do have bathroom trauma that will also have other people switch in, but I'm not going to talk about that. So those are the kind of the like bullet points that I wrote down when I was first trying to think of like the switching patterns that we've discovered and stuff. And of course there are other things like, I said like, and then realized, well, just so many of them are trigger related, and it's hard to try and share about these things while also keeping those protections of not sharing things that share too much about triggers and about trauma. I mean, there are just the things of like, sometimes an alter will switch in because there's something that they enjoy that's happening. That's not a very common thing for people to switch in for, at least in our experience. Usually people switch in because of triggers, even if it was a mild trigger. They might switch in and not be triggered, but it might be because a trigger came up that brought them forward to just deal with it, but they themselves aren't triggered. But like, there are the occasional times where like, we'll have made tea and Oliver really likes tea, so he will switch in. Or the occasional times when we're like in the woods, and I'm actually not going to share this person's name, but this person who really likes to be in the woods will switch in for that. So yeah, there's somewhat trackable things with just kind of what people like, but for the most part, people switch in because of unexpected triggers for us. And we've talked about this before, so this is kind of separate from everything, but it's always a good reminder for people on our page. Something that you all never need to worry about with us, never need to worry about like in our comments on our live streams, if you want to like recommend a piece of media to us, we don't get triggered. You are not going to be able to trigger us by something that you show us or write to us online. Technically, you might be able to. It's very unlikely. We don't really get triggered by things that we see or hear. So like reading things, subjects just being brought up, or seeing media, like it does occasionally, but it very rarely will trigger us. Usually our triggers are much, much more sensory. The one that we have shared that I am comfortable sharing with you guys, because I don't think any of you all are ever going to get the chance to in any way use this against us. Like, if none of you are able to come here and physically shove water up my nose and make me breathe it in, that would trigger the shit out of me. If I breathed water up my nose, that would almost definitely cause a switch. That would cause like a lot of issues. That's not something that you guys, like, if you guys sent something that was talking about drowning, that was talking about water torture, or like something like that, subjects about that won't trigger me. A video about that almost definitely won't trigger me. It's the physical sensation. Or smells. A lot of the times smells trigger us, and so often you can't even tell because it's like a very faint scent of like cinnamon and blueberry, and it like triggers a time when someone was cooking something, when something happened to you. So it's really hard to like identify, but again, you guys can't communicate those smells across here. So that's a little bit separate from this, but just a reminder that like, don't be aware of other people's safety in our chat and everything, but you don't have to worry about asking us if it's okay to share like a piece of media with us, or like what, you just don't have to worry about that with us, or if you're going to trigger us by asking us a question. But yeah, I think for the most part, those are how our system tends to function on the day-to-day basis right now in our life, and kind of some patterns that we have noticed in our system of how we tend to function, to the degree that we are comfortable and safe sharing. And thank you guys all for hanging out. Really, seriously, thank you to all of you who might be willing to either get your own commission or share our Fiverr or our discount commissions with your friends. Send it along, share it all along. If you want a commission that's not specifically listed, but you want something like, I don't know, if you want a design for a bracelet and you want like, you have a plan and a place that you want to get it printed at, and you already have all the plans, but you just need like a specific dimension by a specific dimension design around, or if you want like whatever you want. If you have a commission you want from us, reach out to us on Instagram or email us braididbunch@gmail.com. We are really intensely strapped right now, and anything would mean the world. Also join our Patreon. Not this weekend, but the weekend after, I believe we're going to be doing our monthly Zoom hangout. We post tons on there. We post a lot of art. We post a lot of just like daily stuff, a lot of updates. You get access to our Discord server. So yeah, it would be amazing to see you guys over there. Thank you guys all for hanging out. I hope you all have wonderful days. Take care of yourselves. I feel like there's something I haven't said, so I'm just kind of rambling, but I don't think there's actually anything I missed. So